So tomorrow, May 26th, we're going to have an auction of American Indian and ethnographic art, and it took us about a year and a half to 2 years to pull all of this together, and we're really pretty happy with the outcome. We've got some very interesting things, and we start off with stone. Most of the relics here are from one collection. The collection by Rolly Engstrom, who's been deceased for some time, but he started this in the 30s and kept collecting, and a lot of these pieces are from within 10 to 15 miles of where we stand right now, which is Rockland. One of my favorite pieces is the gouge number 10, and can you turn that over, Kyla, slowly? This. Yeah. What I really like about this is that it has a beautiful script label from the 19th century explaining where it was found. And that you don't see too often. Really quite amazing. Also, these pieces here are item number 7 are plummets from Duxbury. And they were found at the Bay Farm when they were excavating some time ago. Yeah. There's been quite a bit of interest in these points right here, especially this one, the number 24. And there's quite a lot of history to that, again from the Engstrom collection. And it's pretty interesting. I like this piece, which is an actual whale's tooth, probably a sperm whale, small one, but it's a northwest coast basketry all the way around the tooth. And I think this might have hung, it has remnants of a little thing here, and maybe it was hung as an amulet or a piece when maybe before they went whaling, northwest coast. These pieces of pottery here are primarily from one collection from Connecticut. Some of these pieces are old friends to me because I think I sold a few of these pieces back in the 90s to this collector who deaccessioned them last year through us. This is possibly Nampeyo, we think it probably. It's a very early Hopi seed jar. To stick with the Hopi material, we have this collection of Kachina dolls, and there's some very interesting ones here. These miniatures are quite fun. That's a particularly nice Apache basket with crosses and a star in the center. We have some Northwest Coast examples and California basketry as well. This one also, I believe, shows a whaling party going out for the whales. And see how bright it is on the inside. It's faded over time. It's probably the early 1920s. And what's interesting here is that it has the original label underneath when it was sold. And it's macaw, and it was $1.25. And this has the history that John Richardson put on the bottom, which I find just fascinating. That so many pieces that John had incredible history. Very rare to find anything like this, but to find the history of probably when it was purchased. Anyway, that's kind of neat. Out west again, we've got this, what I call a skullcracker down here, or a tomahawk, stone tomahawk, and it has a full history from John again of belonging to Isaac Sprague, who traveled with John James Audubon out west and did a lot of the watercolors. And this was brought back by Sprague. And John acquired this from Priscilla Sprague, his niece, or grandniece, in Kingston, Massachusetts in the 1960s. And it even has a little tag on it with Sprague's name on it. In that early handwriting that I've had other pieces also of his. He probably loaned these out to museums or little historical societies. In beadwork, we have a collection of knife sheaths, including one that was in a book on knife sheaths. And over here we have a nice collection of moccasins, including children's moccasins, and I particularly like these moccasins, which have the tongues and they're fully beaded. And then down below in the case is a pipe bag, Sioux pipe bag, with American flags. It's actually beaded on both sides. These were used to carry their pipes. Over here is a terrific item number 100, is a pouch. It's called a Strikolite pouch. And the interesting thing about this pouch is that it has red pigment inside it, so I assume that it was used for paint, possibly to paint your body, as they did often. Note the crosses, Christian, and the silver piece on the top, which is quite neat, and that's a wonderful example. And down below is a different culture entirely. This is a fan from the Marquesas Islands, and it's probably around 1840. It was brought back by a seaman from the New Bedford, Fairhaven area, and as you can see, it has characters on it. And you can see the wear if you look closely on the fan itself, where you can see the thumb print. It has a really interesting repair as well, very tiny little repair going up the shaft. These pieces here are membres pottery, a very rare form of pottery from the Membres Valley in Arizona. And they're upwards of 1,000 years old. The holes in them depict what they call kill holes. These were supposedly put on a person when they were buried, and the kill holes were to let out so that would let the spirit out. These have a provenance of being sold at Sotheby's in New York. And they were bought by a very interesting gentleman by the name of Stefan Brecht, who was Bertolt Brecht's son. For those of you who know theater, Bertolt Brecht, of course, was the playwright in Germany who was very famous. I actually was in a play called Mother Courage of Bertolt Brecht's. And I knew Stefan. He collected Shaker furniture as well as a number of other interesting objects, including these. This is probably an Iroquois mask from either the late 19th or early 20th century. And it's a spirit, a wood spirit. And note the age to it. It's item number 90. This is horsehair. And here's some Southwest paintings. Interesting part of these were collected by John Richardson, who got these from Elizabeth Coatsworth Beston. And there's a pretty interesting history on them, as you can see. And she was the wife of Henry Beston. They were both authors. She was wrote children's books, one called The Littlest House, and Henry Beston wrote a very famous book called The Outermost House. And anyway, a great history to this. Note also that up here in this corner, and I noticed this recently, it was HB for Henry Beston. He tried to initial a lot of his things. We gathered a lot of books of his from John, and all of them have that little HB in them. So, I'm gonna hang that one back up. This painting here is of the Catalina Mountains over on this side, which is in Arizona. And this is by an artist by the name of Willard Page, and was probably done in the, I think probably in the 30s, in Tucson, Arizona. And that also came from the Bestons to John. Okay. We have a collection of rugs, Navajo primarily. And a collection of art of these here. We start at 143 with an interesting collection that were published of McKinney and Hall, who gathered a lot of portraits of famous chiefs, tribal chiefs. That's Eagle's Bill. It's called a fox chief, and that one is called Little Doctor, Chief of the Muskogee. It's from a Charles Bird painting and then published. As you can see, these were published. So there are 10 different lots of these, and they're really quite interesting. Some are framed and some are just matted. Now we're going to take a break from the American Indian and get into some other cultures. This is Sepik River, New Guinea, a large food bowl. And note the ends of the food bowl are somewhat like a canoe prow carving of, I believe, a man inside the mouth of a crocodile. We have some ceremonial ads here that's beautifully carved. This is from Manjaya Island. This is one of the Pacific Islands. And here's another style. This is 158. Ceremonial axe. These are Costa Rican. Some of these were made to rattle. I don't know if you can hear this, but they have little, probably mud beads inside the legs. That's pretty. These are pre-Columbus, most of this material. We have a pair of Mexican masks over here. Most of the rest of this is primarily a fairly large collection of African. This is quite an interesting cubistic style sculpture. And it's a headdress. This is a Yoruba Nigeria headdress as well, an equestrian figure. This is Yoruba, which is also Nigerian. It's called Nabiji. This is quite an interesting piece from the Dogon culture of Mali. It's a headdress.